Katie Gilman. I work for the Wilderness Society on our energy and climate program. For those of you who are not familiar with the Wilderness Society, we work to protect wild places and to ensure all people have the opportunity to be connected to and inspired by them. Part of my job is to work with my colleagues and partner with organizations like the Nature Conservancy and the Rocky Mountain Institute to expand the responsible development of renewable energy on federal public lands, all the while ensuring we protect sensitive areas, wildlife, and cultural resources. Which is why I'm here today. I'm here to discuss and explore ways in which renewable energy can be developed on brownfields in Nevada, including abandoned mines and industrial sites. Conservationists, mining companies, and renewable energy developers aren't likely to be the first groups to come to mind for most people when they think about partnerships in Nevada. But that's exactly the group of partners who came together for the Mining the Sun initiative. Our work on the Mining the Sun initiative, led by the Nature Conservancy and the Rocky Mountain Institute, is critical in that it looks at ways to expand renewable energy on brownfields and blighted lands, thus sparing more green fields. For conservationists, this approach avoids land use conflicts, protecting healthy, intact habitat that might otherwise be considered for development. For the mining and solar industries, it opens up new options and often allows for the reuse of existing transmission lines and other infrastructure. It also supports Nevada's economy, especially in rural communities. Nevada's Mining the Sun initiative is focused on developing a path and making it easier to put renewable energy facilities on already developed sites across Nevada, rather than on healthy, undeveloped sites that are important for clean water, open space, and wildlife. In Nevada, closed mining lands offer the biggest opportunity for this use, but other sites like landfills also provide options. In 2018, Nevada voters passed Question 6 to increase the state's renewable portfolio standard to 50% by 2030, an increase of 25% from the current RPS. So how will Nevada meet this demand for renewable energy? We think Mining the Sun is part of that answer. Developing more renewable energy creates jobs, offers investment opportunities, and is a key solution to climate change. However, it's estimated that new energy construction in the United States could spread over an area larger than Texas by 2040. In Nevada, where renewables, including solar, have been rapidly expanding, that development has the potential to impact irreplaceable land, water, and wildlife. It's essential that this development is done in a smart way, guided by science and good policy that incentivizes protecting nature along with promoting economic development. We have two panelists here today to offer their expertise on working with community coalitions to implement brownfields projects and to touch on the successful efforts taken by the Rocky Mountain Institute to site renewable energy on mine lands located close to rural communities. Our first panelist is Eileen Christensen. Eileen is a principal for BEC Environmental, Inc., and which she founded in 2002. She has more than 25 years of experience in managing a variety of environmental projects for local, state, federal, and foreign governments and private industry. She's a former member of the Nevada State Office of Energy's Energy Economy Strike Force and is an active associate member of the Nevada Association of Counties, American Council of Engineering Companies, Nevada Contractors Association, and the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. Eileen's work focuses on the beneficial nexus between brownfields, infrastructure, clean energy, water resources, and socio-economics. So with that, I'll pass it to Eileen.
One of the things that, there we go, I have to talk about is how we got here. You know, what started this whole process of pursuing renewable energy as an opportunity for brownfields redevelopment. And I have to give a lot of that credit to Nye County. Nye County is a small from a population standpoint, about 18,000 square miles from a geographic standpoint. So it's a rural community that really has a lot of heart, has a lot of opportunity, and a lot of people who really want to do something. It's just a matter of finding the right people to do the right thing. And we were just so lucky to have, back in 2002, Joni Easley take the initiative to go forward with the brownfield application back then. At that time, in 2002, the U.S. Census actually published a document called Funding Per Capita by State by Year. And as of 2002, Nevada was ranked last on that list from the standpoint of getting federal funding. And I always wondered about that until I went to do a presentation in front of the commission, the Board of Commissioners for Nye County, about how, what an opportunity this grant might present to that particular county. And one of the commissioners came back and said, you know, we don't want a handout. We are not interested in free money. And one of the things I want to emphasize is that brownfields, the grants that are available, are not free money. That's money that's been paid by US residents into the federal coffers and comes back to you in the form of an opportunity. And in talking to that particular commissioner, Gary Hollis, who's by the way, a little bit further down the road, but anyway, in talking to him later, we said, look, the other concern that they had was the federal government was going to come in and tell them how to manage their county or how to manage the program. And the great part about the 104K grant funding is you have the opportunity as an applicant to establish what your objectives are. You can set your own measures of success, you set your own metrics, and you establish your own goals. What do you want to accomplish with that? Well, Nye County wasn't really sure what they could do. In fact, they were one of the first rural communities to actually apply for this program because usually it was thought of as an East Coast issue. You know, they're looking at the old hulking industrial developments that needed to be redeveloped because there was such a shortage of land. And with all the land that's available in the West, why would anybody want to have to go back and try to redevelop some of those properties? But those of you who are from the West and realize that, for example, in Nevada, only 84% or 84% of the land that's there is federally managed or controlled. In Nye County, only 97% of the property, or 97% of the property is federally managed or controlled. The other 3% is private. That's what you have to work with. So one of the first projects that Joni actually wanted to push forward was the Pink Motel, mainly because when we were driving from Las Vegas to Reno, the way that I found out about Tonopah was driving my children from Las Vegas to Reno. The only McDonald's between the two cities is in Tonopah, or was in Tonopah. And in fact, the way that I remember the town is this Pink Motel that was on the main drag, right at the center of town. It was kind of an eyesore, but that's the way I remembered it, because it was this big pink monstrosity. And actually, that was one of the first things Joni wanted to get rid of, is that pink monstrosity. Because it was an absentee landowner who really had no investment in the community other than land ownership. So the town decided to pull together. The town of Pahrump said, we want to be known for something else, for something bigger and brighter. So they learned about the program, and through Joni and through EPA was extremely helpful in getting information about that. They adapted the program to what they needed, and then they grew that understanding to accomplish something that was pretty significant. They did the assessment of the property, but beyond the direct application for brownfields, the indirect things that the county realized were so much more beneficial. Many community members were used to the idea that you have limited resources. So if you're going to use those limited resources effectively, you capture what you can. And in the past, if they were going to demolish a place like the Pink Motel, people would go in and scavenge as much as they possibly could. And in fact, the town worked with the EPA grant folks and the state grant folks to not only do the assessment, but also help people from the town understand what the risks were associated with this property. In this case, it was asbestos, lead-based paint. They had a couple of other hazardous materials building issues. And in the past, people would take, the wood, and they would use that wood for a back shed. They would maybe take some of the fixtures. So what this program allowed them to do is have an understanding of what the risks were associated with reusing some of the materials in that particular building. So they controlled the amount of scavenging and what was recovered. They had some beautiful old tin ceiling tiles. They were able to capture some of the fixtures, and actually the town manager used one of the toilets because it was in better shape than the one in its office at the time. So they reused it. And then they worked with the state because their grant would help cover the assessment portion, but it didn't cover the demolition. They worked with the state to help demolish the old structure. And now when you go down through the center of town, what you see is no longer that Pink Motel. You see the Emergency Management Services building. And that services building, by the way, is staffed almost completely by volunteers, because that whole thing that the commissioners were concerned about, not wanting to take a handout, one of the characteristics of a lot of the rural community folks is their willingness to volunteer, to put community first and ahead of their own needs so that they can help their neighbors out. So they learned about the program, they adapted the program to their needs, and then they grew on to the next thing. And the next thing was one of the projects in Beatty, Nevada. That was the old bullfrog mine that had been donated by one of the mining companies to the town because the mining closed up. They weren't really sure what to do with the property, but they had it available for the town for economic development purposes. Well, the town really didn't have an understanding of exactly what they wanted to do. They knew that there was an opportunity there, but how best to take advantage of it. So what they did was we actually went back to EPA and said, we need help. This is a large area of property, it's about 80 acres for the old mill site portion, where they did a lot of the milling, some of the equipment maintenance, that kind of thing. And we asked, what can we do with this property? Do you guys have any ideas? So EPA worked with six federal agencies that they partnered with to kind of pull a brain trust together. Department of Energy, Department of Defense, because of the proximity to the test site, and the Nevada Test and Training Range, so you had a DOE facility, a DOD facility, you had Department of Interior because of the BLM land that was in the area, and EPA, and a number of agencies pulled together and started taking a look at what kind of resources are here that could be used for economic redevelopment potential. And what they found was the solar incident potential, not only in Beatty, but throughout the area, was phenomenal. They even called it the Saudi of solar. So anyway, the point is, not only did EPA pull in these federal partners and help identify what the potential was, but they also gave us a mechanism, or gave the county a mechanism for putting that forward at the National Brownfields conferences. So what they did is they helped fund, in this case, this assessment, NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory provided a lot of the data that the county used to develop these maps, not only of solar incident potential from the standpoint of concentrated in photovoltaic, but also the potential for geothermal, wind, and biomass. So they could take a look from the perspective of countywide, what do we have? And then you can cross-reference that against private property ownership versus federal property ownership or management, and take a look at where the potential for redevelopment was. So they presented that at the National Brownfields Conference in Boston in 2008, and within 6 months, Nye County had 111 sections of land applied for by renewable energy companies for redevelopment. So careful what you wish for. What the county did was they started mapping this out. Where are these applications coming from? Who's put in the applications? And unfortunately, even though they had tried to focus on redevelopment on previously utilized properties, a lot of the companies that came in were focused on purified management land. So many of the projects that were proposed were huge, on the scale of tens of thousands of acres. And with that kind of influx in a county that has 40,000 people, the lack of technical expertise that was specific to solar was acute. So again, they reached out to EPA and they reached out to BLM and they said, okay guys, we need help. I mean, how do we work with these developers? What's the most efficient use? How do we know if these projects are real or not? And we actually got a lot of great feedback. And again, we learned about what the process took from the federal management standpoint to put an application in for right-of-way. We adapted and got the information that the developers needed, plus the information that they needed, not only from the federal standpoint, but from the county standpoint. And then we grew the program. We started giving those developers what they needed to get in terms of information, points of contact. We put together a packet for those developers. Not only that, but we found that one of the things that the developers demanded was a skilled workforce, a workforce that could be focused on the needs of that particular industry. Well, we reached out again because we didn't have a lot of people, again, with the technical expertise or even the basic labor skills to support that industry. So thankfully, EPA came back again and said, well, you know what, we have this program called the Brownfields Job Training Grant. And there's a number of communities that have used it in industrial areas. We can see how this particular program could potentially be applied for renewable energy. So the town of Pahrump applied 3 separate times and was successfully awarded 3 separate times for this grant. But again, just as with the Pink Motel, it went beyond just the direct applications. Getting people trained so that they could do solar work. In getting this training, we started talking to some of the other businesses in the area, asking them what their needs would be. How could these people who are involved in this training more involved in community-based businesses? One of them was the local landfill, who was exploring the idea of single stream recycling and needed people who could tell what was hazardous from what was not hazardous, just basic training. So these people who were getting these lessons in HazWalker, and then they were going on to get solar information on how to be a solar installer, also got training in how to manage hazardous waste. Many of them didn't necessarily go on to work in the solar fields, but they did go on to work in garages. And they could recognize that, hey, in the past, when we had waste oil, we just dumped it in the back 40. There were a lot of changes in practices that happened throughout the county as a result of the training and awareness that came about through the program. Now, like we said, you learn as much as you can about the program. You learn what the applications are within your community. You adapt so that you can make sure that your community takes advantage of it as fully as possible for that program. And then you grow. And the way that Nye County grew that program is they started talking to the neighboring counties. It started with Lincoln County, Esmeralda, and Inyo County, because they'd all been approached by renewable energy developers, and they all came to Nye County and said, how did you guys start this program? How did you start working with developers? And Nye County shared that information. And then other counties expressed interest. So we ended up not only being one of the first rural counties to take advantage of the program, but adding on 4 other rural Nevada counties, and then 1 county in California, Inyo County, and then most recently, the Duckwater tribe. Because the tribe is also interested. Everybody's fascinated. And again, with such limited resources, didn't it make sense to try to focus the resources that you have, the people who got the most training, the people who are most familiar with the administration of that grant, to help all the neighboring areas around so that they could take advantage of that program as well. So to date, all of those partners have had at least one, if not multiple, assessments done in their communities. And the way that the Rural Desert Southwest Brownfields Coalition came together was, in order to make sure everybody had a say, had a seat at the table, is each of those members has a representative on the coalition board that meets every quarter, and they all discuss the projects that are coming forward, what progress has been made, who's doing what with their particular project, maybe nominates a few other projects that they'd like to bring to the table, and then they get an evaluation of the metrics that they established so that they have a way to measure whether or not they're successful. Success comes in all kinds of forms. And just like you learn about different things, sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail. On the commercial scale, one of the first big commercial projects that came to Nye County was the Crescent Dune Solar Reserve Project. And that was fairly amazing for a town of 2,500 people to get a project that was worth almost $1 billion, and all the jobs that were created over the 2-3 year time frame for construction, and then the subsequent operation. So they learned a lot through that process of getting that project up and running. Now the project has not necessarily met all of its goals and objectives from a commercial standpoint, but again, what it did from an indirect standpoint in establishing the interest in the spark and the innovative approach that the county as a whole took to solar and other renewable projects was phenomenal. Not only we have that project in Tonopah, Liberty Utilities, actually the project was initially started by Invenergy up in Luning, Nevada. If anybody's been up to Luning, you'd be shocked to know that there's actually a fairly substantial photovoltaic farm out there. Liberty Utilities recently came back, so that's over in Mineral County. And one of the things that we learned about and tried to grow was the idea of not only having the commercial applications, but what can we do as a community to support this? So Nye County's admin building was one of the first ones to take advantage of distributed generation, in other words, putting photovoltaic panels on top of their admin building to show people, hey, we are behind this, we're going to support it at the county level. And then having Round Mountain Library also have solar panels established to help run the library. Valley Electric Association, which is an electric co-op, all right, a cooperative that's pulled together association members that are comprised of the community. That group got together and decided to start a solar hot water heater system. They said, well, if we can do PV panels, what about solar? And they found that that was actually a more cost-effective process for heating up water and providing individual residents access to renewable applications for solar. They're now one of the largest solar hot water projects in the United States. Valley Electric also decided to do their own community solar project. So they pulled together the residents who were interested and said, hey, you know what, we're not going to force everybody to join, but if you're interested in promoting renewable energy and you want to stick some money aside, we'll develop a community solar project. So, in addition to what the community did, the other thing again they did was express an interest in, well, what else can we do? What's next? That whole indirect application of brownfields that grew that community's interest in an entire industry. So the next thing they're looking at, it's still in the works, it's still in planning, it was recently authorized from a permitting standpoint, but just pulling together the funding, is the energy regulation management system. Because one of the challenges that the power companies have is when you have photovoltaics, especially when cloud cover hits, you have an inconsistent, your grid system isn't necessarily stable. You have to worry about those peaks and valleys of power supply. So what they did was they said, can somebody figure out a way to smooth this out or help with storage or something that can support renewable? What can we do? Well, that's when advanced renewable energy storage came in and said, well, we have this technology. Would you guys be interested in being the site for one of the first commercial scale applications for the technology? And of course, Nye County was totally behind it. They, in fact, voted in industrial development revenue bonds to support the project. But that particular project uses a train so that during time frames when there's a high incident potential and a lot of energy is generated from the solar fields, the train takes the energy to climb up a hill, basically. It's a 7 to 9 degree grade. And then when they need that power, on demand, even if it's just from a small influx, ultimately what Valley Electric will be able to do is on demand pull that train back down and have it generate power from the wheels, from the engine and the wheels that are associated with that train. So what they've done is help smooth out that power supply on the scale of about 50 megawatts. Now that is still in the planning stage. It hasn't been finished construction-wise, but I wanted you to know that's the next step, that innovation, that spark. So from that standpoint, again, they learned, they adapted, and not only did they grow, but they went. They take their projects and are just so inspirational. I think it's just something that should have been shouted from the wings. And one of the things that happened fairly recently, well, a couple of years ago, is Tesla was approached by the town, and they were so impressed by the story that was told that they voluntarily put in H supercharging stations over at that old pink motel. So they still continue to grow and go. Anyway, that's